got one more baseball question, then I want to move on to some of the other pictures you sent us.
Sure.
But one thing about you, you've been extremely generous for as long as I've known you. You sent us a picture, but we've also had a couple glimpses here on the podcast. You wear your ALCS and World Series ring.
Yes.
You will share them and let other people wear them. Tell us about getting those, how the organization handled that, because I think that's a great story. And just what kind of attention do you get?
Yeah.
You wear them pretty much every day,
I
right?
wear them every day. So
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So first of all, when I joined the organization in June of 2014, the Royals were nowhere in the postseason conversation at all. So when they started getting into into that conversation, it felt like every time I would go to a game, they would lose. So at the end of the season, I stopped going to games at home games because I was like, they
Moneyball.
can't lose.
You're Moneyball.
I'm just a little superstitious. So the last time they had been to the postseason was in 1985, which my predecessor had been there. And so I remember when we went to the postseason, his big thing was, just so you know, you joined in June, you weren't here at the beginning of the year, so you probably won't get a ring, you probably won't get to go to the World Series trips, none of that. So I was already prepared just to enjoy the ride with nothing, no other things. So when I got the news that I was going to be able to go to San Francisco for the away World Series and take a guest, I was just absolutely over the moon, just because even though going to the World Series wasn't necessarily a bucket list item for me, because even though I enjoy baseball and I enjoy sports, the bucket list would have been the Super Bowl, not the World Series. But I'm not going to shy away from it. So, so the way that it works is after you win, there's an amount of time where you wait until a ring design is selected. And I remember them talking about how our owner at the time, Mr. Glass, really wanted our ALCS ring to be a lot bigger than it ended up being. And it was because people convinced him that you didn't want it to be so big that if you went back to the World Series that you couldn't, quote unquote, outdo the ALCS ring. So I'm very grateful that they convinced him of that, because some of them this day and age are quite extravagant. Anyway, so obviously going to those games postseason, there's a lot of taxable fringe benefits involved with that. And so I had to have the discussion with my CFO at the time, that we were going to do this properly. Rules follower, we're doing this properly, because I'm not having my first big task with the organization not be done right and then end up on the front page of not only the Kansas City Star, but the Wall Street Journal and every other newspaper saying that we didn't do it right and get the organization in trouble. So that was kind of the big introduction to leadership here of me, of wanting to be in compliance. So tradition is that the players and those individuals directly connected to the team always get the rings first. So we had to wait. They got their rings, I believe, on opening day. They had a big ceremony for us. Typically there's an off day after opening day, so they did a nice luncheon and presented everyone with the rings. So yeah.
And they paid the tax too, right?
Yes. So so we ended up choosing to gross up everything. If the front office, for the most part, all of their taxable benefits related to postseason activities and rings were grossed up, and the organization covered the taxes for them. Others in the organization, such as the players, they had to pay their own taxes.
Salaries are probably a little different.
Just a little.
So Bill, looking at the photos, was there any in particular that caught your attention?
No, but I just, there was, but I have another question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
What Jodi just asked. I never even thought about a Super Bowl ring or a World Series ring being something that would be taxed. That's really interesting. Are there other things like that, that whatever staff, players, whatever get that the average person would not even, they think it was a trophy, but not necessarily something that would be taxable income?
So probably the biggest thing for me that was a little bit of an eye opener when I joined the organization. So my cousin's husband played 11 years in the NFL. He was a Raider. That is not why I'm a Raiders fan, but he is a Raider. And so when they would come play Kansas City, we would always ask for tickets. And I just assumed, naive me, that they actually paid for the tickets. So we're always like, tell us how much we owe you. No. Well, those tickets, although he didn't pay for them, and although our players don't pay for them, they're tickets, complimentary tickets, they are considered taxable to them because they are guaranteed to them. So that's a taxable item. On opening day or any other day that we have it's deemed a sellout, and I get complimentary tickets for myself or some of my friends or family, if it's deemed a sellout, the value of those tickets become taxable to me.
Okay.
And that's probably the most common taxable benefit for players or individuals within a sports organization would be the complimentary tickets.
Wow. And how much are how much are tickets to baseball roughly? I don't really go to baseball games.
It can vary. Where I like to sit, they're typically $50 a ticket face value, maybe a little higher on, opening day, or if we're playing the Dodgers or the Yankees. But I would say where I like to sit, they're roughly $50 face value.
Where do you like to sit?
So in our stadium, it's called the Loge level. So it's the 300 level. So if you look at my background back here, um, the level that you're seeing the people sit on right directly behind me is 100. There's another area just above them that's 200. But if you look back towards where the stadium actually is up out of the ground, you can kind of see the ribbon boards. Let's see the ribbon boards back here. So that's the Loge level. I like that level for many reasons. One, that's where almost all of our suites are. So there's not as many people on that level. Also, there's a nice overhang. So particularly if I'm sitting down the third base line, I'm not in the sun unless it's, a 110 start. And if it is a 110 start, you're not in the sun very long. If it's raining, unless the wind is blowing in, you're not going to get wet. And it's close to some of my preferred places to eat and drink.
And foul balls?
Not too many, which is another good thing because I am not one to try and catch foul balls. In fact, if one comes, I always joke with people around me, it's your responsibility to protect me because I'm not catching it.